So it's 2009 or like 2010 on YouTube, and Garry's Mod is like a huge thing. So I'm out here on YouTube making sure nobody sees me, and it's the first release of these two things.
Learn to drive, asshole!
Okay, I feel like these need some context, so Kitty fans just skip to the next timestamp, but everyone else get ready. Around this time, Valve and Garry's Mod were huge, and that meant a lot of freedom exploring the web and just making whatever the hell you wanted. So in the wake of this bizarre sandbox game and animation tool comes Colin Wickoff. I think that's how you say his name. Sometimes known as Kitty, other times known as Elliot. Yeah, that's right, the dude uploading these is the dude who's going to school. I mean, these were made around the time he was in high school as a teenager, and also he can be seen as a little fourth wall break in moments with Heavy. Heavy and Elliot were probably a bit of an outlet and a reason to dick around on the computer during his free time, and it also probably gave him a chance to bond with his brother and a couple pals online. It's not like he was the only one doing this, especially not the only gmod animator, but it's still inspiring either way. I don't really have much else for this section, so I guess now's a better time than ever to just kind of say that he's been dead for a little while. It was a hard day for pretty much all of us, especially those of us who grew up around this time, but I think that he would really want us to keep moving forward, and learn from his creativity. Anyways, I think it's time to move on to the shows themselves. Before anyone brings this up, Team Fabulous 2 is going to get its own video, because I feel like I have a lot to say about that. I might as well start with Elliot, an extremely out-of-pocket look at high school around this era, as represented by a bunch of gmod guys who say stupid shit all day.
This guy might be kind of funny. You know what? Your face is funny.
While this has shown its age much more than Heavy, just because of, well, a lot of things, and I generally prefer moments with Heavy more, I still think this has a lot of strengths. The dialogue is easily the biggest strength. It's just so detached from everything, and you kind of forget what the whole subject was in the first place.
Make sure you guys don't
dilly-dally! I know, Mr. Cool. I read minds. Like Elliot's thinking that he wants to punch me in the ear.
Okay, now let's go back to what we were talking about last week.
To call any of these moments non-sequiturs would imply that there's even any sequitur here to begin with. Okay, that sounded weird. I really applaud him for that. Plus, the way everyone talks and acts perfectly encapsulates exactly how high school was around this time. I guess Kitty would probably know, considering how old he was during this. I'd imagine he had a few real-world influences. I couldn't really find a way to fit this in, and I can't really prove this, but I also feel like the shitty mic quality helps a bit to make a lot of the lines really just pop. It just reminds you of 2009, just by listening to anything that happens. Another benefit is the characters. While I do love the Mercs, I feel like Elliot's school gang is just hilarious and incredibly memorable. I don't really play favorites with any of them, except for one. I'm a Jimbo truther. I just gotta say that.
Wow, I was only in the class for 15 seconds and something gay happens.
You're gay.
Bananas.
Is it possible to learn this kind of comedic timing? It's a little weird to say this, but I feel like all the silent, just regular gmod model characters are also hilarious in their own way just because of how they stick out. It's like those anime characters in the background. I also think it's such a funny poll that one of them is just Locke from The Nightmare Before Christmas. Oh, his name is actually Joe in this, by the way.
Joe?
How far into the gmod model store do you have to search to find just this obscure 90s Disney character? I kinda love this. Thank you for adding this guy, Kitty. Can we get some Joe appreciation? Another benefit to the characters is that each episode keeps bringing in new ones. I think one of my highlights is that Mondays brings in this weird crabcore guy who just kinda straightmans the whole episode, and I mean, just watch some of this.
Not if your dick's on your face.
Vagina counts too.
Oh, okay.
My name rhymes with vagina.
Just the inclusion of one extra part of the cast can just make everything so much harder to follow, and I kind of love that for this. Well, this series specifically. That's why I love characters that can just completely destroy any focus the episode has, like Elliot's grandma.
Tell that
to fly back to Nani or else I'm gonna shove my foot up his little feathery ass!
Grandma said shut up.
Oh, okay.
There's not much else I can add here without getting into an excessive amount of tangents, but I think this is just absolutely amazing despite how much it's aged. Just the delivery and comedic timing is unrivaled. There's only 5 episodes, but the quality just blows the quantity out of the window, which I'll do a short ranking just to end this. At the lowest is probably the first one, and then afterwards camping, and then field trips, and then pep rallies. And I'll say that Mondays is the absolute peak. There's just so much funny shit in it.
That's because I'm
Gay!
You know what, Brandon?
Yes, tit face?
You smell.
Like garlic bread?
No, like,
Strawberries.
Anyways, for the second side, we're about to get heavy with it. I'm pretty sure I got caught watching this at one point. It was a little awkward. So if you're worried that there's gonna be too much difference between these, there's not. It uses the same humor and absurdism as Elliot in a unique and fresh way, and while it is of its time in a few ways, that's something you kind of just have to deal with while watching it. That's what I think anyways. It's like watching the Fesh Pince YouTube poops.
Stupid.
I love the pacing of Moments with Heavy. It makes you think it's gonna be casual, and then it just goes all over the place. There's no consistent spot it ever lands on, but it really doesn't need to because it's just constantly engaging, that's what it is. You're either getting really nice and charming interactions with all the mercs, or this.
Lewis!
How the fuck did we get from point A to point B here? I forgot what this was even about. Does anyone remember that one Hotel Mario video that just ended like this? This is also really small, but I really like the use of the blue marks. Like, I actually don't know why they were all red in the Meet the trailers. Like, I don't know the lore. I think it's supposed to be propaganda. But this is a really cool representation, because the blue team in this is like a bunch of little goofy underdogs, and I don't know, it's just really cute, and it feels strangely consistent to canon TF2, just all the charming ways everyone's unique to each other while also being on basically the same wavelength. I think one of my highlights though is the absolute insane amplification of all the physics and faces the characters make. Like, you've seen some of them in Elliot, right?
Double S!
Bananas. No.
I'm not even really sure what it is. They both use the exact same sound packs and very similar models, but this just gets even sillier. One of my favorite parts about this is probably the weird face glitching effect, which I'll show you what I mean. It starts around the driving test episode, and it's like where any character just does this. Okay, I'll stop clipping and just get on with it by now, but it's still really funny. This is probably something you could only ever do in Garry's mod. With the way every single gag is timed, you just have no idea what's coming next and what's gonna happen, but you're completely fine with that because whatever does is just funny as hell. This is especially a big part of the Dumbass Holiday Special, which is like, I know that the French Toast is the actual last episode, but this is what I consider the big finale. So, you know how every episode is just such a different subject? Like, it starts out with the usual, like, bowling and driving and all that, and just slowly gets into this big sandwich plot. Well, I think that's the biggest benefit of this, because this one episode is basically both of those things together. There's a nice, casual, comfortable feel to the start and finish of this episode, but make no mistake, this is a journey. This is a character-driven episode, and the way it introduces everyone is just brilliant. So it gives you Heavy and Ellis to warm up, obviously, and, well, they're pretty great, and then you have to kind of get accustomed to Frank West and Chuck Green, who are also just funny in their own different ways. But then whenever it goes back to Heavy and Ellis is just doing something like this. Actually, I just want to sidebar this entire Duke Nukem scene because it's way too funny to ignore. When I first heard the whole gum catchphrase, like the original file, it was so jarring because I'm just so used to the kick ass and kick ass.
And I'm all out of kick ass.
This was the funniest thing to me, and I'm pretty sure I've dropped that line somewhere in public and confused everyone around me. I don't even know anymore. Anyways, this episode probably introduces the most random side gag characters, but they never overstay their welcome. They either just kind of disappear without explanation or just get obliterated, and just all of that combined makes this episode feel like the closest to the absolute heart of Moments with Heavy. I was gonna go more into the whole show itself, but I really needed to get into the episode variety because that's probably one of its biggest strong points. Which, that being said, I'll just drop a quick ranking. Lowest to highest, I'll do Jack Johnson, and then probably the Christmas Feast, and then the Ultimate Sandwich, and then Xbox 360, probably, and then the Driving Test, and then French Toast, and then Bowling, and of course, you already know that the dumbass Left 4 Dead Holiday Special is right at the top. I've been getting so sidetracked this whole episode, but the point is, I love Moments with Heavy. There's so much variety in each episode, and the amount of absolute broken gmod physics and all the slapsticking just makes this legendary in every single way. I was initially going to have a section comparing both of these shows together, but I didn't want to do that. For one, they're just they complement each other. You should just watch one after the other. I would recommend Heavy first, and then Elliot after. But otherwise, it's not really worth comparing and contrasting. I don't think any of Kitty's videos are supposed to be separate. They're in different universes, but they all live in a vacuum, which I actually really like. And that's why I left little comparison snippets instead. Anyways, you can really tell this is of a different time, but I still think it's really worth looking back at older internet eras, both to learn and to enjoy how hilarious some of them can be. This script was a bit of a mess to do, but I kinda like it that way for this specific video. I just love the art of Gmod and SFM in general. Like, I don't even know much about Valve. I've played both of the Portal games, but nothing else. But I've watched so many TF2 Gmod videos in my time. I just wanted to see if anyone else also remembers this time in YouTube. In the future, I might also go into other things like the Gmod Idiot Box, or maybe some SFM creations like the Fedora Chronicles. This is honestly such a great vessel of internet culture in of itself. I recently watched Emesis Blue in October and absolutely loved it. So yeah, I cut pieces of this video that I felt didn't really fit, so I decided to just let most of these shows speak for themselves. I'll be putting playlists to both of these shows in the description as I usually do. I think they're just consistently worth rewatching, no matter what time. They serve as pretty great memories, they forged a large part of my sense of humor, and hopefully that can be shared with you as well. No matter how much Valve ages, I feel like all these are gonna be classics no matter what. Thank you for the laughs, Kitty. Rest in peace. Thank you, Gabe Newell.
I'm Gabe Newell.
Thank you, Valve. Also, make something already, because my personal needs are more important than yours, obviously. Bleh.
No.
It's about eating. You do that again, I'll knock you in the...
Oh, okay, sorry.